Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another devotional. Happy Friday. I wanted to talk today about Galatians. I just went through Galatians and such a cool book. There were so many times where I was like, wait a second. And I really dug into certain verses. And so specifically, I wanted to read Galatians 2, 16 to the end of the chapter, which is 21. So if you want to follow along, you are welcome to. So Galatians 2, starting at 16. Yet we know that a person is not justified by works of the law, but through faith in Jesus Christ. So we also have believed in Christ Jesus in order to be justified by faith in Christ and not by works of the law, because by works of the law no one will be justified. But if in our endeavor to be justified in Christ we too were found to be sinners, is Christ then a servant of sin? Certainly not, for I rebuild what I tore down, I prove myself to be a transgressor. For through the law I died to the law, so that I might live to God. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not nullify the grace of God, for if righteousness were through the law, then Christ died for no purpose. Okay. So I've talked about this a lot, but just this whole idea of grace and how I'm on this journey to find out more about grace. And it's funny how once you become aware of something and you ask God to teach you more about whatever it is, for me it's grace, then all of a sudden all these things start popping up and all these things keep coming up in my life that point me back to grace or that just teach me more about it. So I was reading Galatians earlier, and verse 21 just struck me so much. I kept rereading it constantly and was like, wait, let me understand this. And so this section is obviously just talking about how we are not justified through our works. We are justified completely through faith, and through faith alone that we come to believe in Jesus and become believers. But then at the end here, I just find it interesting that the way that Paul puts it. So he says, I do not nullify the grace of God. And if you're like me and you're not an English major, you have to look up what nullify means, because I didn't know. So I looked it up, and it means invalidate. So I do not invalidate the grace of God, for if righteousness were through the law, then Christ died for no purpose. So I realized by doing works to get to heaven, I invalidate God's grace. Now let me just clarify. I know that in no way I do works to get to heaven. But when you have that false mentality of I haven't been saved alone by grace, in my head I know I've been saved alone by grace, but you live your life as if your works still kind of help you get a little bit further, and God will love you a little bit more if you do more works. And so I realized that when we do that, we invalidate God's grace. It's like we're taking God's grace and throwing it out the window. I like to think of it as God gave us grace freely. It was a gift that he gave to us. And so if we try to earn that by doing things, we're just spitting in God's face. It's like if I gave you a gift for your birthday and then you said, oh, how much do I owe you? I'd be like, excuse me, this is a gift that I have given to you. Don't be rude. We would think it was so rude if someone asked us, at Christmas or at their birthday, if they could pay us back for their gift. It's no, this is a gift. That's the purpose of a gift. And that's what Paul is saying here. God freely gave us grace, and we nullify it, we invalidate it, we take away its meaning by being oh, thanks for the grace, but I'm also going to try and do a bunch of good stuff to also get to heaven. Or not even to get to heaven, but just to the false mentality of thinking that God will love us more if we do more things. And I think I've talked about this before, that God revealed to me a little while ago that if I died right now, how much he loves me would be the exact same as if I lived for another 100 years, became the next Billy Graham, and led millions of people to the Lord and then died. He would love me when I die then just as much as he does right now in this moment. So it's me doing good things it's not for the purpose of like gaining his favor or to getting to like a better place in heaven or for him to love me more. I do these good things out of my love for him, right? It's like God loved me so much, and because I love him, I want out of my free will to do things for him, to evangelize, to disciple, to minister to people, to grow in my knowledge of him. It's not to further my relationship. Well, it is to further my relationship with him, but it's not to further how much he cares about me. Like that, like nothing can separate me from the love of God. His love for me is exactly the same no matter what I do, which just blows my mind. And so this verse is saying that if we were to gain grace or to gain salvation through our works, then Christ died for nothing. Like there is no purpose to his death then, because his death was what allowed us to come into a loving relationship with God, because he is the one who took on our sin, and he is the one who took on the punishment of death that we should have received. And he gave us that free gift. So it's like you need $20 to buy something, right? You want a new book, or you want a new video game, or you want a new tool for your house, I don't know, whatever. You need $20 for something, and then someone freely gives you $20. They're like, hey, I have this extra $20 and I really want to give it to you. And then you go, sweet. And then you go out and you like do some odd jobs because you're like, I need $20 for this thing. You were already given the $20. You don't need to go and earn more. And that's what I think of when I read this verse. Like, we don't need to earn our salvation. We don't need to do good things to earn it, because Christ already did. He already earned the salvation and then gave it to us by dying on the cross. And so this is all like for some of you, you may have already come to this conclusion and you're like, yeah, awesome. But like this just blew my mind this week, because I just read this verse and I was like, oh my goodness, when I do these things with the mindset, of I'm going to gain more of God's grace, I invalidate his grace completely. And then I say to Jesus, oh, there was no purpose in you dying for me, which there was. So anyway, that's my huge tangent and TED Talk on Galatians chapter 2. I just thought that it was so cool, and I just pray that we continue to remember these things, and that I would continue to learn more about God's grace, and that I wouldn't invalidate it, and that I would remember that he loves me the same today, tomorrow, the next day, and for the rest of eternity, and that I do these things out of my love for him, not to gain love from him. So I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Just continue living in the knowledge that you have been saved by grace completely. It is nothing of yourselves, which is encouraging, because if it was from ourselves, we would be screwed, to say the least. So thanks again for joining, and we will hopefully see you soon. Bye, guys.